We've seen Barrel and stuff, and obviously Evo Valk. Where do you put maybe the top 5 Evos as we're about to start this game?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have Evo Witch, maybe number 1, alongside Evo Baby Dragon. Those Evos are probably the best right now. I mean, they're 1 cycle Evos, and they're not too expensive either. So it's just super easy to get them in cycle, and they're great on defense, great on offense. So those probably top 1 and 2. Maybe for 3rd, you know, I might even just go Evo Valk. Just because it's like the Evo that counters the Evos, really. It's just that really defensive, really strong card that's being used in Graveyard, and it's being used in bait in order to counter those beatdown decks I mentioned. And then, of course, you have Evo Gob Giant. Gotta go 4th for Evo Gob Giant. Even after the emergency nerf, it's still so strong, especially when paired with the Pancake Tower. Getting the upgrade on the Gob Giant makes it so that the Evo Gob Giant, when it spawns as goblins, it makes it so the tower has to attack 3 times to take out 1 goblin, which is just so ridiculous. And then,
so here we go. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, and then I'll just say 5th, maybe, I don't know, like a P.E.K.K.A or something.
Okay. Just curious, you know, I always like to hear your thoughts on where the Evos rank, especially because, you know, month to month, the ranking really changes with the meta. And here we go. This game, obviously, between Pedro and Ian, we see that Pedro has some good responses to the Hog deck that Ian's running. You know, he's got the NATO, which we already saw a good King Tower activation early on. And, of course, the Goblin Cage, going to be frustrating. Evo Goblin Cage actually pretty good right now in the meta as well, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's very strong versus the beatdown, and just in general, just another really strong 1-cycle Evo that's not too expensive, you know?
Oh, and the Golden Knight dash kind of does Pedro dirty there, going backwards at the end, lining up that Firecracker.
Huh. So an Electro Giant at the bottom from Pedro, and then Ian with the Hog. I would say historically, Hog Rider should always win this, but, you know, Pedro has the Tornado, he has the Cage as well. And that Evo Baby Drag really just changes everything. You know, we talk about the strong Evos. That Evo Baby Drag is going to be boosting the E-Giant forward at lightning speeds. But, you know, he's going to have to continue to defend as well. Another Hog Rider push.
Correct me if I'm wrong with this, Juicy, but it felt like maybe the first announcement of the Baby Dragon and maybe the first couple days of the Evo Baby Dragon being out, people thought it was going to be super underwhelming. And as you just said, maybe the second best Evo in the game.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah, even me, it was like, I couldn't tell if it was good or bad or what the deal was, but I think that it just took people a little bit to figure out like what cards synergize well with it. And I mean, as we see right here, I mean, he's just speeding the Brawler to the tower. It's one-shotting the Firecracker, and then just gets on tower as well. And he just calls a good game. And I wouldn't say like Ian made a crazy big mistake here. It's just this Brawler just moving at unheard of speeds. It's just insane.
Yeah, it's like what I was talking about earlier, is just the interactions that you come to know and love so well in Clash Royale just get changed up by quite a bit with that speed boost. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it just took people a second to kind of figure out what cards play best with it or synergize best with it. And right now, you got to be at least a little bit happy. E-Giant has not been super popular for quite some time. And you know, I saw you run it when the Baby Dragon first came out, and you had some fun with it. Do you think it's still viable on ladder, or do you think it's just more of a dual mode situation matchup-wise?
I do think it is actually viable. I've played against it a few times and even lost versus it with the Evo Baby Dragon. I actually really specifically like Pedro's variation, though. The Evo Cage is great, and then the Mother Witch. I think that E-Giant can struggle versus Graveyard, but the Mother Witch really just covering the bases here.
High Mighty Miner here gets retargeted on top of the Golden Knight. Then there's the dash. And the Mother Witch at the bridge to help take things out. Ian going for EQ cycle. 1758 to 1479. Ian is in the lead as we see an aggressive E-Giant at the bridge. Evo Tesla helps take out that Mother Witch with just a little bit of HP remaining. And we'll see if Pedro can break through again or not. Here's the Lightning.
Ian's defense is really solid here. The Firecracker Evo slow is kind of negating or helping versus the Baby Giant speed. And then, wow, this is getting close here. It's 10 seconds. It's Lightning versus EQ. One Lightning going to drop down. Can Ian get back to another Earthquake? I don't think he can. And Barbaro can't hit.
Oh, wait, he's in the lead. Oh, and there's the NATO. 2 HP. Oh, the Firecracker almost shot.
Oh,
wow. The 2 HP game.
Oh my gosh! Pedro's
You
all
love
smiles.
to see it.
Wow.
Historically been known as a guy that plays his emotions or keeps his emotions pretty close to his chest. You know, even when he was winning or losing at World Finals, you could barely even tell that he was at World Finals. And Adriel's another guy that's very, very good at holding down his emotions. But we get a big smile there out of Pedro at the end. I mean, how could you not after a 2 HP win?
Yeah, I'm having a couple of people in my chat kind of school me on what makes this matchup a little bit more difficult for Ian here. So there's an Electro Spirit. It's true. Like, Electro Spirit is not good as Ice Spirit versus Electro Giant because it doesn't stun it for as long. Obviously, E-Giant cannot reflect when it is frozen or stunned. So the E-Spirit makes this a little bit difficult. And then the Barbarian Barrel really, I mean, we saw it do pretty well versus the Mother Witch, but not having the log to knock it back to E-Giant definitely makes defending that pretty difficult as well. Even despite that, though, I think I was really impressed with how Ian defended the E-Giant. I think the E-Giant made the tower the whole game. It was really just that brawler sped up by the Baby Giant Evo that we mentioned a few times.
Well, Juice, if there's one thing I've learned about commentating is if you're ever feeling good about yourself, just go read the chat.
Yeah.
8 years of being humbled by the chat, and we love you, chat. Absolutely. Here we go. Game number 2, 2 HP, the separator in game number 1, and we're going a lot heavier here in game number 2, at least on one side of the board.
Okay, so P.E.K.K.A, Gob Giant, and a Goblin Machine. I mean, this is something we know. Pedro, though, with an Evo Valkyrie with Vines. I mean, that is the combo we've seen today. Yeah. If you're going to try to counter this deck, if you're going to make it happen, this is the combo you need. Evo Valkyrie plus Vines. Wow. There it is, though. Oof. Goblin Machine, always sneaking damage on tower.
Yeah, it looked like Pedro was maybe trying to get that Gob Machine on top of the Bomber to maybe activate King Tower, but obviously the Princess Tower just a bit closer there, and damage lead in his favor. And for those of you guys that aren't super familiar with Pedro's gameplay back when he did get number 2 in the world, he has also gotten number 6 in the world last year. He's a guy that is, you know, he did it with Minor Poison Cycle or Minor Mortar. You knew it was coming, and there was nothing you could do about it. So when you talk about micro interactions, as we've seen a lot in this game already, the Fire Spirit and the Bomber kind of kiting around the P.E.K.K.A and the Goblin Machine, maybe one of the best micro interaction players in the history of Clash Royale.
Electro's here over trying to stall the Valkyrie. Goblin Machine does take out the Goblin Hunt, and the Vines on the Bomber trying to make this package in the tower. It is not leveled up, so it will not one-shot the Berserker. It's still walking forward. Another Valkyrie has to drop down. Goblin Hunt really just getting solid value in this matchup.
And for those of you asking, since we're only in the second round of the second round, we will see all the competitors again today except for Muhammad Light, who had a first-round bye and won his one match of the day.
Okay. Another Gob put on defense. Fire Spirit here. Vines onto the Bomber again. I think that's a pretty common idea. And then here it is. It's the Vines plus Valkyrie in a slow from the Snowball as well. Very nicely done to deal with the level 12. Never mind. Gob Machine hits the tower again.
Yep.
That's
yeah, I mean, the defense is pretty good. The Goblin Machines have been breaking through, and that Fire Spirit getting on tower is nice for Pedro, but Pedro's definitely having to spend a lot. And as this game gets deeper into double and into triple elixir, I'm very curious to see, you know, how and when Pedro's able to actually create real offense.
Okay. Yeah. It's a good point. I think it really comes down to the Evo Snowball, right? The question is like, do you use the Evo Snowball on defense or on offense?
Yeah.
There it is.
Can you use it? And there it is. Yep. And the Goblin does get on tower, and that's a big hit.
Yeah, it's a good point. Can you use it? It's definitely not. It will use it. Can you? Because now you've used it on defense, and here comes a level 12 Gob Machine with a P.E.K.K.A and an Evo Gob Giant. I mean, this is an insane push. Yeah, I'm sure he's wishing he had the Evo Snowball for defense right now. Huh?
And that's a great arrows there, too. Fire Spirit, I don't think even Jump takes out the Bomber just in time. Valkyrie is going to come down. There's the Vine, so that Goblin Machine very, very healthy. Bomber distracts for just a moment, but the Spear is getting on top of tower as well. 1605, 1912. Goblin Giant at the bridge. There's the Evo Valkyrie.
Evo Valk is really stopping this Gob Giant in his tracks. He's trying to push forward. Only 10 seconds left. Another drills and cycle. Does he have the Evo Snowball? He has a nice Vine to predict.
He has the Evo Snowball. There it is.
Does have the Evo Snowball? Is it enough?
And it hits. The arrows are early. The arrows are early.
Oh my gosh. And
Wow.
Pedro, he just 2-0 sweeps Ian by a matter of 2 HP in the first game and only 100 in the second.
And get to a point where in the most beatdowny, one of the most beatdowny metas ever for World Finals, make it all the way to the top 2. So certainly a guy who can hit that flexibility, but then again, we're talking about Mohamed Light. Let's see. Now, I will say this, that if we work back to, I think it was the 2023 season, Pedro was the guy, right? He was the breakout star of that year. One of the only other people to put in 3 accounts in the top 10 on a ranked season finish. So this is one of those ones where I can watch these two go head-to-head every single time.
And the thing about Pedro, too, at that World Finals was you knew exactly what he was going to run. He was going to run minor control or he was going to run minor mortar, and he just did it over and over and over, and no one could do anything about it. So I really like that he's going back to minor control here against Mo in game number 1. Let these guys feel each other out, see how their nerves are going, see how their interactions, how on point they are. And so far, we've seen that Dark Goblin connect on the right-hand side, and you know, a little bit of minor damage on the right-hand side as well for Pedro.
Did not run it at all yesterday, but back to this very quick cycle for Pedro here in game number 1 against Mohamed Light. And, you know, I think that one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is the nerves. I mean, we've talked about it some, but the nerves that even the top-tier players face, right? And you're trying to work on a tiny screen where one tile and one split second changes everything. And I think that when you realize that Mohamed Light actually is nervous when he's playing at these high games, Pedro, we've seen as well, has the same situation. The ability to overcome those nerves, I think, is one of the big separators between these two guys and a lot of the rest of the Clash Royale world.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to be emotionless in Clash Royale, as hard as that is to do. For the point of not getting, you know, too excited and making mistakes, but also for the point of when you lose a game or you lose a set, you have to bounce back.
So final minute of regulation, double elixir. Miner goes to the back, and Pedro recognizing there's no King Tower activation against that Miner. Let's start getting the mind games going as early as possible.
Yeah, that Berserker has to come out every single time to catch that Miner, and obviously for Mohamed Light, he hopes he places it in the right spot. The synergy with Vines and Wall Breakers or Vines and Goblin Barrel is really, really exciting, I think, for bait players, because it makes the Wall Breakers and those barrels effective. The regular barrels and the Wall Breakers still effective, even late game.
Mother Witch,
that's a lot of damage.
Yeah. Mother Witch trying to slow things down, but going to still take the damage. Things still close right now. Not quite a catch. And you see just Pedro leaving that one a little bit low, seeing that Mo's trying to kind of cover bases rather than maybe necessarily go for the direct catch and getting a little bit of damage. But it is Mohamed Light with the lead, 22-40 to 23-17.
This deck just does so well against bait in the sense of you have the log, you have the Skellies, you have that Golden Knight to be able to deal with the regular barrel, and then of course you have the E-Spirit to deal with that Evo barrel, which is, you know, one of the best cards in the game to deal with the Evo barrel.
Berserker gets one on the left-hand side, Electro Spirit to absorb the Fire Spirit, and now red hair in both lanes.
Really nicely played there by Pedro. He doesn't send in the Miner. Mohamed Light goes Berserker left-hand lane and then recognizes, okay, now I need to cover for the Miner. He drops the Valkyrie on top of the tower, and you know, no Miner comes in. So technically Pedro could have sent in a Miner then, but instead decides to play some defense. Probably the better idea.
And Mohamed going to eat a little bit of damage here on the left-hand side, sacrificing for the need to defend the right-hand lane. Poison, though, starting to do its work for Pedro as we enter sudden death.
And this is exactly what he did back in 2023, although he's taken a lot of damage there, not using the ability, I think, on that Golden Knight. Instead, just kind of lets it swing away on those Goblins, catches the Miner this time with the Berserker, but as you said, Rich, that poison damage is going to add up. Surprised that Pedro just took that much damage from the barrel.
And we are, similarly to what we saw earlier, we're in a situation again where one player has direct damage and the other player does not. So Pedro just has to prevent against these connections, but look at that one. Down to 1130, spent so much elixir and gave up so much damage, has to respond.
I have the replay up on my other screen, and in that moment it just looked like Pedro was ticked down to 1 with that Golden Knight, but he still could have used the ability, and Wow, now running away with it in that bottom right-hand side. Just a misstep. Just completely overwhelmed. Mo spends a little bit more than he needs to on offense, doesn't deal with the Evo Skellies on the left-hand side because he gets distracted by the double miner on the right-hand side, and then Pedro doing a good job of just staying in it, keeping up the pressure, and somehow Mo lost track of the board.
Pedro, the maturity has grown, and you're also seeing why he's now a multiple-time world finalist and multiple at one time, at the same time, ranked finisher.
I mean, and also he just found himself in a really great matchup. You know, it's one of those things where the matchup is always a part of the conversation, especially with that champion in there and how fast that deck moves around, the 3-card cycle, the ability to deal with, as I was saying during that game, of being able to deal with the Evo barrels so cheaply with the E-Spirit. The amount of damage that Mo got was still incredibly impressive, but, you know, I stand by what I said, and that, you know, Pedro still is arguably the best Miner Poison control player in the world. I think maybe the other guy on the screen there, Mohamed Light, is the other person in that conversation.
So pretty quiet here in the first minute. The Rage doing just a little bit of chip damage here, but both players kind of sitting back. And, you know, I was curious as I was looking at the kind of beatdown meta that we're experiencing and seeing the rise of Golem as how much we might see some more of this going forward. But getting the Fishboy out instead of waiting until the end, Pedro gets us going.
Evo Xe, interesting. I mean, definitely stacks up pretty well against a lot of things that are popular in the meta, because especially that, you know, Gob Giant deck we were talking yesterday, just everything piles up at the bridge. So if you have something like an Executioner that can hit all of it, or like a Bomber we saw yesterday have some good effects, makes sense why we're starting to see a little bit more of it.
Ram Rider slowing down the Royal Giant, guards plus Bandit, plenty of DPS to get things cleared. And really trying to double down on this one as, wow, the Fishboy gets a little distracted, and finally the guard will do a ton of damage.
I like that a lot. I like that push from Mohamed Light. Just really, really aggressive. He does a great job defending against that Royal Giant with just units on the board that are going to create a huge counter push, guards and bandits to distract, and just great work there early on.
Evo Xe goes to the weak side of Pedro as the Spirit Empress gets cycled in the middle. And same defense one more time for Mohamed Light, or at least very similar. Let's see if Pedro makes an adjustment here.
Looking for the King Tower activation here.
And now getting his own counter push going. Monk way ahead. Bandit gonna grab the Monk. Monk should. There we go. And notice how that's not going to result in a King Tower activation. Obviously less important in a Royal Giant matchup, but every little bit can help.
Yeah, nice play there with the Monk ability. Super late, waiting for the defense to come down, then activating it, then getting the RG in, knowing that RG was really struggling against the Ram Rider. Ooh, boss man. This is a big push on that left-hand side.
Just guards to work on the right-hand side defense. Ram Rider still up. Boss Bandit gets handled by the Monk.
That defense was really clean on the left. Really well played there by Pedro.
And with the King Tower activation, Bandit has no chance of escaping that interaction.
And this RG still needs a little bit more. It gets a shot, for sure. 2.
Wow, gets a couple.
And you can see
13.
Mo shocked.
And his offenses aren't translating now. Pedro's been doing a really good job of just completely shutting down the ability for anything to turn the opposite direction. So Mohamed Light has some math to do if he wants to get a win and stay in the upper bracket.
Yeah, you can definitely see Mo here just really upset with some of these interactions that he's you know, defensively and offensively. I'd say mainly defensively because it's keeping him off of the offensive side of the board. And now we'll see how this Ram Rider, that's a lot of, again, perfect cleanup there by Pedro.
Yeah, Ram Rider just not finding any way to get through. And then now you see, and look at the guards getting work. Now another Ram Rider, but Fisherman distracted on the right-hand side. Snowball not going to do enough. Oh no, the Ram Rider does just barely connect. 17:41, but with 30 seconds left, is this enough? Oh my word.
Beautiful dual lane pressure there by Mo. He pulls out so much elixir on the left-hand side, then gets the next Ram Rider down. Just really, really greatly played. Has the Evo Snowball in hand. That was just a perfectly orchestrated offense by Mo Light.
Raged up on the Royal Giant. That's going to be a lot of damage here. This RG might be enough. Ram Rider connects with 220 left, and Mohamed Light steals victory from the jaws of defeat.
And then you pay for it down the line.
Fisherman Log and Evo Tesla all gone for Pedro. Does Mo consider going Royal Giant here?
Ice Wiz Skelly looks like he might be going Mortar.
And building up a little bit. Let's see if Pedro doubles down. And
oh, wow.
3-3 split on the recruits.
This is interesting. This is not something that I'm super familiar with.
Did someone play... I'm going to sound foolish here. Did someone play Graveyard's recruits yesterday?
I don't think so.
I thought I saw one weird, when I was looking through the deck, I saw one really weird Graveyard deck. But
it's hard to say. You know, a lot of decks played, and again, they're so different now. Like, we'll see such weird compositions. It's cards being paired with cards that you're not used to seeing. Yep, it is still Mortar with recruits, and I like that play because I think what the idea is there is, you know, Mo is kind of covering his bases to run into that Goblin Giant deck. Just, you know, a lot of good DPS, a lot of good slows. You got a good strong building there. You've got the arrows to take out. Usually, like a bomber is what's in there to support, even though the bomber's in this drill deck. And Mo going Mortar Miner. So, you know, something that we're not seeing a lot in the meta right now is Mortar and Miner together for some reason after the Miner nerf. But, you know, Mo wants to be able to play that control game, wants to be able to get on top of the tower.
Valk will clear that easy. First 2 minutes away, entering double elixir time. And so far, just a little bit of chip damage both ways as Mo mortars up.
Recruits tanking for that Miner. Miner goes to the back. I like that. And with Valkyrie being out of play or out of cycle, I'd be interested to see how Mo wants to use his Skeleton King as this game goes on.
Drill plus Berserker opposite direction. Skelly King going to work on defense. Gets rolled back. And very nice use of the gang and arrows there to clear. 25 seconds left in regulation. 22.85 to 26.65.
And that's something that Mo's just going to have to do as this game goes on. It gets a lot harder in double and triple, but you got to keep track of when that Evo Snowball is coming out. He's got a lot of really great counters for Drill in the sense that he has the recruits. Those are pretty good, but Skeleton King and Gang are both exceptional against Drill, so got to make sure that you're keeping track of that Snowball Evo. Skeleton King goes opposite lane. I think Mo wanted to go to the right.
Yeah, just got a little distracted and wandered over there, said, hey, what's that?
It's one of the best cards in the game for countering it, the Valkyrie.
And the Snowball plus Berserker to get the Miner off tower. $90 seconds left.
Yeah, the thing is that Berserker is just so good at dealing with miners. You know, Mo's still going to be able to get miners here and there. But, again, that nerf and damage just makes him just a little bit less effective. Pedro, very patient player, is probably just happy to hold on to this small lead that he has.
Miner goes to the front. Nothing there for it. But as you talked about, the nerf and damage, and Mo's just trying to play catch-up here, and it's a struggle. Valk swings on the right-hand side, so now more trouble. Miner to the back. Evo Snowball rolls it back.
And that's really good for Mo. I mean, he sees that Evo Snowball's out of cycle. All of a sudden, his defense against the drill becomes a lot easier. Still has to make up a couple hundred damage in this last 45 seconds, but at least doesn't have to worry about that Evo Snowball, I think, for probably the rest of the game. Maybe he might have to deal with one more in the final second. That's maybe what Pedro's going for timing-wise.
Evo recruits split. Valk working against him on the left-hand side. 28 seconds left. 22 to 1976. The two towers from Mohamed Light.
Mo looking a little bit of a struggle on his face, just not sure how he's going to break through. That Goblin Hut is such a nuisance right now. I mean, you don't have a big spell to take it off the board. You got to use the arrows to deal with the bomber, or else the bomber's going to just do way too much damage against your Skeleton King ability, plus the Miner on tower. And there you go. Does get that final Evo snowball in. And that is so well timed by Pedro. He goes, I got 45 seconds. I need to get 3 more snowballs out in this game, and he gets it in the final moment there. We saw that yesterday as well, and that's just beautifully played by the Brazilian, sending Mo to the lower bracket.
Maybe find the preferred matchup, and Pedro with a chance to jump in to that top 4 and get a first round bye. Let's go.
Oh, interesting. Still could be GY. Sandbox just looking like he's leaning into the meta. You see that with the Pancake Tower.
And Demolisher just working its way up. What's going to come with it? Cannon Cart. And I don't know if Sandbox is going to press the issue here. He decides to.
Yeah, level 12 Cannon Cart to support. That's actually a lot of single target DPS. And if it can lock on that Witch, that's huge.
Oh, and the Rage.
Berserker.
Yeah. I was going to say, the Rage was a good job clearing, but yeah, exactly. The Berserker just completely getting in the way. Very nicely done by Pedro.
And I like this. He's going to force the issue here. He's got the Evo Witch on the board. He's got the Skeleton King behind. The Goblin Machine is actually not super effective against the Evo Witch in this situation because it's going to kill all of her own skellies and just keep her healthy. And those minions, if that doesn't do it, good connection.
Yeah, good connection, good damage. That's a very significant chunk taken, about a third of the tower. Or maybe a little bit less in this situation.
Yeah, really, really well played there by Pedro. Just not forcing the issue. You know, we saw there for a minute where he was like, okay, I have the Evo Witch on the board. I can get the Skeleton King down and see how he wants to defend, but never overextending. Gets a great bit of damage there with just some really calculated plays, which is really what we've come to expect from Pedro and his play style.
Cannon Cart sets up in the back.
Someone got 9 Spirit Empresses and it unlocked it for them. That's actually really cool.
9?
Yeah.
That's so wild. Cannon Cart staying in the back here, and if that Goblin Giant continues to protect it.
Yeah, this is a scary push. Evo Witch is down once again, though. Obviously, she's very, very good at defending. Goblin Machine is not there to kind of get on top of her, even though you're trying to defend with her. We saw that yesterday where one Goblin Machine took out an Evo Witch and it just turned the whole entire game around. And you can see it right here. It's just really frustrating. It was a level 12 Goblin Machine, so 2 shots took it off the board. You see right there a level 11 Goblin Machine didn't quite do the trick.
Evo Witch stays alive here. So here we go. Sudden death, final 2 minutes.
Such a small amount of damage done in this game so far.
Oh, yeah.
Is the lead, as Pedro has defended almost perfectly.
And again, a mature game here.
Yeah, I was just going to say that both these guys just really kind of holding for pause to see where their opponent's going to make a mistake. And that Goblin Machine not being able to get on the Evo Witch is something that I'm sure Pedro saw that interaction happen yesterday. And he goes, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure she stays alive.
And it's so chaotic in some of these exchanges right now. When you think about all the spawns that are happening around all these troops. And you're trying to keep track of the critical stuff inside the muck, inside the scrum.
Fire Spirit plus Snowball, really nice to clean up the minions. Late Goblin Hut, and gosh, man, I mean, this is why Pedro is just so good. And that's a big counter push on the right-hand side. You got to spend on that. If a Vines comes down, if Vines came down, that'd be me playing. Instead of Pedro. I like that he doesn't go hyper aggressive there. Good potentially good push here on the left though for Sandbox.
A lot of damage though. Final 30 seconds. This push is it. Do or die for Sandbox.
How much is those minions?
And the cannon cart that's off its track, still down behind. This Goblin Giant gets rolled back. Curse trying to do something.
And you realize what was not played this game, Rich? Graveyard.
Graveyard.
Just beautiful, beautiful control by Pedro. I mean, that is, we love to see someone win without using their win condition because they just recognize the macro matchup. They recognize that much. And while Snowball and Fire Spirit can be with Graveyard, we didn't really see the poison. So it does make sense, actually, more so that it was... I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, this doesn't really look like a Graveyard deck to start, but as the game went on, it felt like it should be or could be, but ends up being Drill. And even then, Pedro still doesn't play it at all, which is very, very impressive and almost a little bit surprising because it's a lot cheaper. But I guess he just was like, I have the damage lead, and that's something that someone who is known for minor control would probably recognize early on. I have the lead. I just need to defend. And kind of a slow start here at the moment. Going back to that minor control deck, and you know, it's just so wild to me how popular it has been here today. High Tesla here to snipe the Furnace. And good protection there with Pedro from the Valkyrie. I mean, this is a fully actualized Pedro right now who is just completely locked and dialed in. So many perfect interactions in this set. Graveyard comes in now for Pedro. And get some great poison value here on top of the Dark Prince and on top of those guards, pretty much negating the counter push. Should be able to stop this with, well, now that we see a Miner come in, gonna have to take a little bit more than just the Ice Spirit. Looking for the goblins there was that log, but instead Evo Valkyrie comes down to do a little bit of double work there on top of the Dark Prince and the Miner.
Sets up the Furnace to pick up here and continue this pressure on the right-hand side. The high cage. And we'll see if the Brawler can get involved, but not going to cross the bridge early enough to help out this Graveyard push.
I'm so curious about when you run someone's known deck against them. Not one trick, but, you know, it's like when we see people run bait against Riley. We saw that at World Finals. We saw it again yesterday. It's just like you don't really want to run bait against one of the best bait players in history. On the other side of it, when you're running minor control against one of the best minor control players in history, you wonder if that's where you want to be, as Pedro takes a nice lead here with that Graveyard.
And we once again saw the Rocket not doing the work against the defenses.
Great Ice Spirit plus Goblins to catch, mitigate 100% of the damage there. And Pedro knows I can overspend defensively because we're going in the same lane, right? I can overspend, then get a good counter push. If I don't give you too much rocket value and I defend with Ice Spirit plus Goblins, I'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, Sandbox totally locked in. This time, the Rocket will get the little extra value of the Goblins, but you're talking about 6-on-2.
Yeah, and those Goblins have to come down no matter what. So, you know, it's not the type of thing where the Goblins come down and they get rocketed off the board. Something like a Furnace or Valkyrie all of a sudden become really ineffective on the counter push. Those Goblins are already going to get cleaned up pretty easily, whether it's with the Dark Prince or with the Delivery or even just the logs. So, you know, this is Pedro playing against his bread and butter.
And you're also seeing Minor Rocket here without the ability to 3-card cycle for the quick spell damage at the end. So he's going to have to do this au natural.
And And now just going in a straight rocket race, this is just not going to work. 45 seconds left. Now you can just get relentless graveyards in. That rocket being used down below means you're not going to use it on top of the Evo Furnace, which is always going to pull more attention out of you and deal with the tank you have on the ground, which is why Pedro is supporting it so much. And that's game.
And there you have it, folks. Pedro will move into our grand final, locked into, at minimum, 205 points, which means that he has now secured his spot in the top 4 and a first-round bye at our 2025 World Finals.
Makes you think that it's not going to be graveyard, but also in best of 5s, that's when you start to see really wacky decks. And that's where you start to see different spells or different spirits come in than you would traditionally see in a best of 3. So there's a lot of things that come into this conversation, but I do believe that for Pedro, I would just love to see some control here. Like you said, he was a wall in games 1 and 2. Why not just continue to be that wall in game number 3?
Yeah, he won with minor control against Mohamed Light in the last one, so we'll see if he goes that way. Log certainly makes that a possibility. And Sandbox with Skeleton, so looking like he might be going light here.
Pedro just chilling.
It's nice to chill sometimes.
Yeah, love to see that King Tower activation. Just needs to happen. Obviously, a small thing. Could be that hog deck we saw earlier from Mo with Monk and Wizard.
Yeah, certainly feels like it. Oh, maybe RG instead.
Oh, never mind. Yeah. And Sandbox's deck is a little interesting here. This is, again, the part of best of 5 that we love.
Yeah, I really want to get into the championship rounds. You know, see what these guys do when they dig a little bit deeper.
And it makes a lot of sense why you see Pedro just sitting back and kind of chilling on his win condition, being RG.
So maybe a similar story here from Sandbox as he starts pulling those guards over to his side to take him out one by one.
And that, again, just shows kind of how dialed Pedro is. You know, he looks at the cards, he looks at the Fisherman is most likely in this deck, protects the Monk for just a moment longer, creates a little bit of pressure knowing it's going to be RG. I mean, you know, if I can call that Sandbox is probably going to play RG, it makes sense why Pedro thought that he was going to run RG. And nice Vines, though, to allow a few shots in here from Sandbox. But he's going to have to deal with a pretty large counter push.
And Pedro goes opposite lane, away from the Monk on this one.
I don't hate that. You know, he's going to be able to use this Monk ability on the right-hand side. Those guards are going to create a lot of pressure, and now that RG just kind of has to... I mean, Skeletons. I mean, that is a really great use of Skeletons. Pedro probably looks at that and goes, all right, I need to save my E-Spirit now in the future.
And sped up on the RG. Monk trying to get its knockback, but instead in the reflect zone, and able to do it.
Yeah, great use there. We saw it yesterday from the Uzi. We saw it here again. That Monk lined up perfectly with the RG, not allowing those shots to get in. But, you know, Sandbox running RG when we're thinking he's going to run RG, and it's really working out with an 800 damage lead.
Double Elixir setting up left-hand lane for Pedro onto his strong side.
Vines are just it's actually a little surprising how good RG is with Vines and Evo Baby Dragon in the meta.
That Royal Giant gets 2, maybe 3 here, 2 shots, and the E is yeah.
No big spell, but I think Arrows plus Vines just does it. We saw Sandbox miscalculate spell damage yesterday, and it cost him the game. I'd hate to see that happen once again.
He's probably doing the math right now. There he goes, gets the Vines. Arrows will finish it off.
Yep.
And that's what I was talking about. That's the kind of win that Sandbox really needed here.
I'm saying if you're top 1% in the world, it's just something you've got to do. And like, it's, you know, doing that quick math on the fly while you're trying to defend. If you're just going to sit there and like hold your finger on the screen, it's like, okay, it does 287 and this one does 113, and okay, 287 plus 113, okay, that's like 400, right? And then all of a sudden you're just a second late. So just having them memorized, as we've seen players do, and as most players have memorized in the world, it's just really, really important.
All right, game number 4, advantage still to Pedro. And this is a hard one, right? I know that Lucas watching at home wants the best for his buddy, but they're both going to Worlds, so he just wants that first spot. Prince is already like annoying enough. The idea of a level 12 Prince just kind of sends me.
Yeah, and you know, these single target DPS cards that have been showing up more and more just because of, you know, how heavily beat down favored the meta is like why we're seeing mini P.E.K.K.A.s and why we're starting to see Princes when mini P.E.K.K.A.s are out of cycle. Obviously, mini P.E.K.K.A. not out of cycle yet here for Pedro, but it's just interesting to see those cards that not super popular in previous metas to kind of work their way into it because of the evolution of this meta.
I think Pedro might be a little frustrated there. Thought that Baby Dragon would save the E-Wiz, but the Zappy stayed on it.
Nice interaction there with the Prince, and Goblin Cage going to pull this in. Sped up charges, though. Not easy for the Goblin Cage to grab. It's just something to note. When you have the Baby Dragon Evo there.
Taking our way into double Elixir. And we'll see if Sandbox starts to get the recruits going a little bit more as we get that Elixir flowing.
Yeah, it's interesting. The recruits are going to be good against the Prince, but everything else that Pedro has does splash damage for the most part. You got the 2 targets from the E-Wiz, obviously the Bomber, the Goblin Machine Rocket, and the Baby Dragon. So recruits kind of get taken off the board a bit more quickly than if someone had just a few more single target DPS cards.
And there's that level 12 machine.
I was going to say, it feels like Pedro might just go in here, and he does.
And Goblin Giant, yeah, wow. Sneaks right on through.
And then you get the curse in there. Not quite as effective as it used to be, as you guys can see, but still some damage done. But small counter push here for Sandbox.
Yeah, that was really interesting because we've seen the Zappies do such an effective job of defending, especially against things like this Goblin Giant today, but especially when you're in a situation where your opponent has no big spell to clear them. That time, though, able to break through and get really good damage.
And I really like that push that we just saw from Sandbox. He knows that the E-Wiz on top of the Ram Rider is going to be the most favorable interaction if the Prince is especially not in cycle. So he goes Skeleton Dragons right behind to pull out more Elixir from his opponent. So you see there, Skeleton Dragons with the Ram Rider pulls out the E-Wiz and the Baby Dragon, and then we see even the Bomber at the very end to soak up that Skelly Dragon shot. So nice adjustment there from Sandbox.
And keeping those Zappies in the mix with the Golden Knight tanking on the Baby Dragon. Lots on the right-hand side for Pedro to deal with, and Ram Rider comes in behind all of it.
Yeah, and that's going to be really tough here. You're going to have a very, very late E-Wiz. There it is, but you see 6 Zappies on the board, and you love when players recognize you have no big spell. These Zappies are a nuisance.
Oh my.
Look at that!
Oh my.
Have you ever seen that many Zappies in a CRL match, my man? That was amazing.
And now arrows and vines. So does still have the big direct damage spells available. So I'm expecting to see Poison, Fireball, also Lightning still on the table for him. So very curious.
Yeah, and we're seeing the Dagger Duchess. Not seeing a lot of Dagger Duchess at the competitive level. I mean, it's one of the things with that tower specifically is, you know, when the arrows are out, or excuse me, when the daggers are out, it allows your opponent just basically a free pass to turn the pressure up. And Pedro goes, I just lost to Zappies. It's not going to happen again. I'm going to play him.
What does Game Saver think he's in a face here? And it's the mortar to the right-hand side. So bridge spam for Sandbox into a Bowler Mortar Zappies deck.
And this is a lot, actually, on the left-hand side. Luckily, that bandit doesn't dash on top of the bowler, so going to be able to play some nice cleanup here.
Let's try to get that bowler out of the way.
I mean, this is why we love best of fives. What an interesting deck here we have at the bottom of our screen.
But now, as we were talking about, the Ice was going to get a little bit extra because that tower is empty. And a good opening chunk of damage.
Yeah, still damage in, and also starts with about, 250-ish less HP. Just under 300, really.
So Zappy's bowler going to trying to find a way through for that Battle Ram a little bit challenging. We'll see what Sandbox's final card is. Had a lot of damage-dealing big spells available. You kind of assume that's the way he's going.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the matchup conversation here, this is definitely a tough one. The ability to pull the daggers out of the tower, then keep up with a lot of small bait cards. You have so many ways to control the Battle Ram on the other side of the board. You also have the tank ability and the swarm units to kind of deal with that boss bandit. And of course, like I just said, the Zappies are a great way to deal with that.
Evo Snowball, though, opens up, a nice little spot here, and Berserker gets on tower and makes this much more even, 2043 to 1875.
Yeah, I mean, Sandbox is just playing so well right now. Always hurts to have to use the Evo Mortar on defense, but sometimes you just have to do it, and usually when you find that you have to do it and you're stubborn about it is when you can get punished. So I like that that's just what Pedro goes for.
And look at this, though. That Dagger Duchess not helping that Battle Ram get away.
Yeah, that Boss Man should go backwards. Oh, no, it does still go to the Goblins and then turns around.
Oh, these arrows.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly the trouble we're talking about. Sandbox has no elixir in the tank, no tower to help out. He's using this Battle Ram, and that just feels like it could be game. Evo Exy, though. Maybe the great equalizer here. Wow.
So much damage given up, and we do see it is the Lightning. So much damage given up, though. That Evo Exy extending the life of Sandbox, but will it be enough?
Up the pressure is Pedro here, trying to just get as much pile up as he can while that Evo Exy is not in cycle. E-Spirit at first, then the Exy, but still some damage should come in. Yeah, there you go. Skelly's on tower, and the dash. Whew.
Yeah, I mean, that was an extender of life, but on life support is Sandbox in this one.
And just a couple arrows away is Pedro, who, if I know him, he's going to just defend, and just get those arrows in.
Yeah, I mean, Bowler, what a call here.
Yeah,
right?
Great call.
I mean, absolute shutdown card in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, both of them had a really great idea in dealing with the pile-ups, with the Bowler and with the Executioner. It's just that Dagger Duchess, I don't love the call on the Dagger Duchess. I feel like that was one of the reasons why Sandbox was never able to recover it.
And a chance to try to be the #1 underdog of the season.
Excuse me, I meant to say Sub has the silver ticket locked. So, yeah. Adriel, no. Golden. And then Pedro also has a silver ticket. We're going to figure out where that goes, along with Lucas and Sub. So just a quick little bit of cleanup housekeeping there. A lot of names to keep track of.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's interesting. We do have kind of a short season overall with only 4 golden ticket events. So those silver tickets, the likelihood of a silver ticket going to somebody who qualifies for World Finals anyway is exceptionally high. So we're finding that was the situation here. And we'll see how it shakes out. Right now, though, let's start this BO5 to see who's going to be our Stats Royale Gold Edition champion.
And always love to see Pedro playing Mortar Miner. Had great success with it in 2023. Ian going to GY, which, Pedro's got some good responses to it. But obviously minions and gang can be cleaned up off the board. And also, you talk about going up against GY when you're running Cannoneer. It's just not that fun, Rich.
Why? What's wrong?
Why? What happened? Yeah,
He's going to take his time here. Going to go ahead and just let the Witch be a nuisance.
I think that's a great idea for Ian. You know, his deck just gets better as the game goes on. He already has the advantage of going up against the Cannoneer. There's really no reason to force the issue early here. And obviously, you know, with the Cannoneer of himself, the Skeleton King plus the Witch plus the minions plus the Goblin Gang, all those things can kind of be frustrating, but with Valkyrie, Witch, and Ice Wizard and Barb Barrel, it's actually not as hard to deal with.
Yeah, they both have good swarm coverage. A little bit less effective on one side than the other when it comes to swarm coverage for a graveyard. And nice little poison value there. Get the Ice Wiz taken care of.
Ice Witch, new card, just dropped.
Yeah, I just spoiled it. Sorry, I spoiled the Ice Witch.
And there you see
and then
that Valkyrie up high just completely obliterates that push.
Did I get a message that I actually did accidentally spoil the card? Mortar's up. And it's fun to see Pedro going Mortar in this one, right?
I love it.
I would have loved to see Mortar versus Hog between these two. A little showcase of what made you great.
Yeah, and I'm sure Pedro probably a little happy about that. Is like Hog EQ against. Well, this Mortar deck is okay because the Witch and the Ice Wizard do a little bit better job in terms of like that Earthquake not being super effective, but in general, it can be a tough matchup these days. And there you go. GY makes sense. Minute and a half left, and we'll see how he wants to defend as that Vines comes in, plus arrows. So great coverage here so far. Still, though, you look at that, and it's like, how did that much damage still happen? How much elixir was spent? Like 12? And still damage comes in.
It's absolutely nuts. Final minute approaching, triple elixir about to hit. We'll see if Ian can turn up the pace a little bit now that we're in the graveyard time of this matchup.
And look at that value, man. It's just, again, it's absolutely insane. The poison comes in, gets on top of the Ice Wiz, gets on top of the Witch. The Witch splash gets on top of Tower. The Cannoneer has trouble against the Skellies. Witch is still splashing on Tower. So much elixir spent, and, you know, just an insane amount of damage taken.
Yeah, that was nutty. That's the only way to say it, because that was absolutely nutty. Miner goes to the outside, trying to get some of this chip back for Pedro, but that one push might have told the story here.
Just so much has to happen, and you see even right there the Vines having to be used by Ian to deal with those minions. It's another great synergy that's happened with that minions buff, is the range buff being able to defend well for the Mortar on your side of the board.
And that's going to be it. Game number one for Ian. He calls out the good game, and Ian now on a nice little win streak. And he's starting to stack up here.
Yeah, that's just a tough one, man. I mean, you always hate running into Graveyard when you're running Cannoneer.
But increase the expertise inside that deck. And I think that's the culmination that we're seeing come to fruition today.
And Ian has just been on an absolutely insane run, winning 6 games in a row, Rich. I'm pretty sure he dropped that first game against Mo when he was running Golem, and then he reverse sweeps, picks up 2, goes straight 3-0 over Sandbach, and then picks up game number 1 here against Pedro. And just absolute domination right now from the American.
Dark Prince evaporated. And now Goblin Giant up front.
Miter Mortar control, but you have that Prince in there to help with the 3-card cycle. Also gives you another ground tank if necessary, gives you another pushback if necessary, but the Goblin Machine, man, I mean, you just look at how hard it is to wrangle and how much damage it still takes, and Ian pulls out the signature good game very early on. We've seen Ian call good games so many times and actually still win said game, but this is against Pedro, who already has 1,000 HP in the tank, and pretty good matchup.
Yeah, maybe it's, maybe it's his way of just kind of letting go, and when we do see him make the comeback, it's because he's kind of no longer super concerned with it. And some players, we see that happen, and it's resignation. And sometimes for Ian, it's almost more relaxation. Although now the emoting is kind of telling us the story.
Yeah, in his case, it's kind of like worst thing that happens is I'm going to lose this game that I think I'm going to lose, and then sometimes you see him fight back. But yeah, this is just tough. I mean, again, we've said this several times today just because we've seen so much minor control. It's just a lot of ground to cover when you go down early, and your opponent can all of a sudden play so much less aggressive. Or conversely, when you're running against this only offense deck, is you just go pedal to the metal. I'm never going to give you that 6 elixir moment.
And Prince going to go ahead and smack that miner right in the face.
And just as I say that, yeah, I was like, well, the Prince is cycled in the back now, so there's a free rocket. But maybe the long game, right? Because that rocket comes out rich, and now you just have nothing for this Evo Furnace.
Little Prince with the knockback of the log. No Little Prince ability called out here. Gives up a little bit more damage. 1294 the mark on the right-hand tower.
Yeah, the splash range of that Fire Spirit is just so brutal, so hard to control. The Prince looked like it was maybe just far enough away, but obviously you want to keep it far enough away from the push so it can stay effective, but then it's too close to the tower. Fire Spirit jumps, a couple hundred more damage.
All right, this Little Prince has a bit more going on for Ian than previously. Miner here to make sure there's no connection of those bottle rockets.
Yeah, that is a good play, even though it's pretty much his best offensive weapon. The range of the Furnace, another one of the most frustrating things about it, is you can see sniping that Little Prince off the board, even though the Dark Prince comes down.
I wonder if we're going to see the Little Prince ability really at all. I could see it maybe when we're in triple if Ian's trying to give room to spell cycle, but so far, nothing doing.
Gosh, that Goblin Machine. That Goblin Machine is such a nuisance, and now you see Ian kind of going left-hand lane, not only to focus on, the Goblin Giant that's coming down the lane, but maybe also to try to keep his Little Prince alive longer to help. I mean, not even the 3-card cycle isn't really going to do anything at this point, honestly. Just a rock in a hard place.
Final minute, triple elixir, and Pedro's going to lock things down. Make no mistakes. And Rocket going to get some value.
The Goblin Machine doesn't matter. Still has a third of its HP. We love that card. Don't change it.
And there goes a Little Prince ability. Going to keep that out a little bit longer.
Again, I mean, I know I sound like a broken record, but you see the Goblin Machine's effectiveness against these ranged cards, whether it's getting on tower or taking the Little Prince off the board or making it ineffective. It's just absolutely so difficult to wrangle here, especially because so much of dealing with Goblin Machines is distracting with units that have enough HP to keep that rocket off your tower.
Wait a second, rocket log. Is that going to be not quite there? Look at that. Ian ended up getting this thing pretty darn close, and you start thinking about the long run of this one, and Pedro able to create just enough separation today. Ran a drill deck with the Evo Furnace and Bomb Tower. So there definitely is. I was gonna say that maybe drill was off the table here, but Ian does still have one of his drill constructions free. That rage probably means we're going a different direction.
Yeah, Cannoneer, Tombstone. So you can see Ian here already. I mean, Tombstone's actually shown up a lot more today than we saw it yesterday. I think we saw it maybe once yesterday, and today I think we've seen it maybe 4 times already.
I don't think we've seen Ian run Tombstone yet in this competition. I'm just double checking right now. Yeah, none from Ian thus far. He'll be very happy to have that fireball today.
Yeah, great value there. And now how do you deal with this? You get the high Tombstone, but man, that's just a lot on the board right now.
And the rage to clear, the Skellies just distracting the fisherman, and that tower is pretty much donezo.
I mean, that tower is donezo, man. The fish boy just distracted for so long. Now we're just a fireball away. And Ian has got to feel good. He does not need to play another Royal Giant until Pedro overextends, and then Ian can go opposite lane with the Royal Giant. So, you know, right now Pedro thinking, what do I do? Let me go build up in the other lane because I know all it takes is a fireball, and already pretty much looking at game number 4.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Sets up to the right-hand lane, but like you said, there's no reason to do anything other than sit back and defend for another 75 seconds.
Yeah, give Pedro a taste of his own medicine, as they say. He's been such a good defender himself, and it's crazy the synergy of the Skeleton King plus the Royal Giant when it actually works out well. We've seen that in history. We've seen Royal Giant paired with, you know, bait-type cards as well. Whether it's the Skeleton King or the MK plus, like, you know, Skarmy was a classic one we saw a long, long time ago, but we see the effectiveness of it. It looks like Ian misplayed what he wanted there. Probably did not want to play the Royal Giant there. Probably looking for more of like a Furnace or Tombstone situation.
This is the second time that we've seen a little weird misplay out of Ian with the log in the first game. Of course, in the first game, the log didn't matter. He ended up coming out and taking the win. And this does still force expenditure, right? You're still forcing Pedro to play in the lane he doesn't want to be in.
Yeah, because you can't just completely ignore a push that big, right? You just can't do it because then you're starting to worry about the 3-crown conversation. So Ian doing a good job of making him spend more than he wants, and now Pedro needs a true miracle here.
Well, miracles happen, but not here and not now. Ian taking the 2-1 lead, and now has championship point.
Where do you go from there, though? It's definitely really tough. I mean, even Recruits Piggies would be something weird and kind of fun to see. You look at how much splash and stuff is out for Pedro, and Pedro looking like he's going to go bait. Ian could be going to the skies here, or something different with that cage and the Golden Knight combo.
I thought Ian played Electro Giant the other day, but I guess I was wrong. I can't remember who it was who played Electro Giant. It might have been Pedro.
Yeah, it might have been Pedro. I think it maybe was Pedro. But yeah, we did see Electro Giant once yesterday. It's going to look a little bit more like Drill.
Yeah, I mean, certainly could be Drill here, and this would mirror the version he played yesterday with Furnace, but with the cage instead of the Furnace.
And that Dark Goblin. We'll see what Ian actually has to deal with the Dark Goblin as this game goes on, but if the Dark Goblin and Princess are 2 cards that he's having a lot of difficulty controlling, this could be a very frustrating game.
Yeah, no log, and pretty clearly not playing Bar Barrel.
Yeah, Bar Barrel used in his, I think, first game or something like that, so I like this call. I like bait when you see that log and Bar Barrel are out. You know, Golden Knight ability can do a decent job, but you really want something else to help deal with that Evo Barrel. There we go. Evo Barrel in, Evo Dark Goblin down. And you just got to eat the damage so that you can deal with the Evo Dark Goblin because you don't have a good way to get to it.
And does this feel more and more like it's something heavy since we have not seen a Drill yet?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about like what the Baby Dragon is there for. Like the Evo Baby Dragon, is it just there to slow? Usually not. Usually there is some synergy there, and there's the E-Giant, which makes sense, right? You look at the Golden Knight, you look at the Bomber, the NATO, the God Cage. Those are all things, and I think that's probably why you were hinting at E-Giant at the beginning of this, because Pedro did run it yesterday, like you were saying. So I like that. Baby Dragon going to sneak through. Got to spend on those wall breakers, which means you can't spend elsewhere. Mighty Miner should do a pretty decent job helping this out.
Yeah, but this is going to end with a nice elixir advantage for Ian, which is exactly what he wants out of it. So that push, and you know, I love thinking about this. You're doing that push, you'd love to get damage, obviously, but less to break through and more to force the game to be played the way you want it to be played. And now we'll see if Ian can do something with this big elixir advantage.
Yeah, I mean, you always love that situation where you're playing a beatdown deck to be able to get back on offense. Baby Dragon with the E-Giant, we've seen them coupled together, the Evo Baby Dragon, the E-Giant, just giving it some skates. It is such a slow-moving unit. So fun synergy there. E-Giant is just barely viable again because of it, it feels like.
Pedro with a nice lead, 1801 on that right-hand tower, so 500 and change for the Brazilian.
Fake barrel just going to get completely soaked by Ian, which is the right idea there. No reason to spend too much when you've got a healthier tower on that left side.
Oh, Berserker stays up long enough to take care of the wall breakers.
And
full send right-hand
barrel, yeah. Gets the King Tower activation, but a lot of elixir spent. I mean, a lot of damage taken there. Yeah, I don't actually really love that play, and that's a really nice play, though, by Pedro.
Again, just trying to go all in here.
It's a NATO that's just a little bit off. Nice high cannon there from Pedro. Takes the Golden Knight away from what could be the tower. Good cleanup. Mighty Miner gets on top of that in the very beginning to get some good damage in. Anti-lightning placement. All things played well right now by Pedro.
And just good read from Pedro. There's been no... Oh, this is starting to be a problem here.
Yeah,
real problem
Baby
here.
Drag speed up is huge. And Bomber gets on tower for a shot.
Wow.
And the lightning, Rich.
653. Berserker gets the catch.
Wow.
NATO to cover, and wow, Ian shuts it down. We're going to a bracket reset as Ian waves the white flag, but we called it before. That is not a surrender. That is in some ways the spinach.
Royale. Dude, I was playing, and just to, you know, since we got a second here, I was playing pickleball the other day, and there was a kid that came out there who absolutely bodied me in pickleball. He was insane. But then we talked about our trophies and Ultimate Champion ranking, and he was nowhere even close to where I am in Clash Royale. So it's just so cool to see how universal it is. He's also obviously like...
Yeah, it's fun, and you know, thinking about as we get into this game, thinking about what that's going to look like at World Finals. You know, I don't think people paid attention that much to it, but there was a tournament. I think it was last year at the Pukkelpop Festival in Belgium, if I remember correctly. And one thing I got back from that was that there were so many people who just wandered in to watch it because it was a cool live thing to watch. And I remember watching the videos of that, and the crowds were wild. Like the actual energy in the room was completely insane. And so I think that might have, I don't know for sure, but I feel like that might have influenced some of the decision to bring it to DreamHack this year. Man, the more I think about it, the more pumped I am.
All right, here we go. Game number 1 in our upper bracket grand final reset. These are the last 5, if necessary, games that will be played before our last chance qualifier next weekend, where we'll be crowning and giving away our final golden ticket winner that we get to decide on, at least in the competitive actually being able to watch the competition. Everything else will be decided by leaderboard points.
And for those of you curious, I won my division and shot a 960 rated round yesterday.
I was curious, but I already saw
Thanks,
that
Andrew.
on Instagram.
Thank you, buddy. I mean, I gotta look it up. I'm again the Berserker and Valkyrie lore. There has to be.
Wow, that is such a good vines there by Pedro, and you can see Ian does not love that interaction. Knows the cannoneer already took a shot. Berserker stays alive, uses that extra 3 elixir to get an extra lot of damage in. And Ian kind of responds in kind there with the vines of his own.
Snowball to slow things down. Doesn't get the stab. 20-62 on the left-hand side, but the real story is that bottom right, which is in so much trouble.
Yeah, it's amazing how much damage that Berserker can do, and I really love that about the card. It needs to be paid attention to, and Vines plus Barrel, also a really fun interaction. Wallbreaker into a Bomber, though, not so fun.
And this feels like it's pretty much sewn it up.
Nice last
599.
second Valkyrie there to just make sure that the game isn't completely over.
Nearly gets the wall breakers connection. Not quite. Vines doing their work on both sides of the board, offensively and defensively.
It's just crazy. The Vines just like a combination of, you know, arrows and lightning and freeze. You know, you talk about the targeting, you talk about the amount of damage, and obviously the freezing there, not as substantial, but it doesn't really seem to matter in terms of the time that you get to lock everything down or the amount of units that you get to lock down.
Wow. Wow. The work done there by the Evo Valk to open up a lane here, and I might have spoken too soon. Ian is in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not that far apart, and you know how quickly that damage can stack up with the Goblins, and now we're seeing Pedro have to use his strongest utility card on offense, on defense, and then we see another wall breaker connection. What is the last card? That's the question.
That Vines was absolutely perfect. 519 to 301.
Ian is trying to spell cycle this out. Now goes in with the double barrel. What does Pedro have for the right-hand side? He has to snowball, which means he can't do it on offense, which means Ian is just back ahead again in cycle. He should be able to get another Vines in. There you go. And now, again, pulling the snowball out of Pedro. He has to use Vines there, snowball on offense. Is it enough?
151, 293.
This game
oh my, caster.
Insane.
Is this one of my all-time worst caster's curses?
It is!
And it is!
It is!
Oh my word. What did I do to Pedro?
Wow. I mean, Ian just locked down his defense. You were talking about how the crowd is going to be in Atlanta. Well, the chat is absolutely losing their mind. I imagine some of these people will be there. I think Ian's going to have a really big home crowd feeling in Atlanta.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at this list, and Mo, Ian, Sub, Pedro, Lucas, Adriel, Igor, Sandbox, Moogie, and Sam. Ian's the only one who's going to be there, besides whoever the LCQ and the Chinese qualifier are. But other players who we know who are locked in, Ian's the only one who's never been to a World Finals before. Everyone else on that list is a former World Finalist. But now we're in a situation where Ian is also one of the scariest people at that World Finals.
Definitely. I mean, 110%. And I don't know if you could have said the exact same thing at the beginning of the year. Even though he won the first monthly final, you're always like, well, you know, a lot of people have won monthly finals. A lot of people haven't won world championships. And right now, Ian really looks like a guy that can win a world championship.
Yeah, I mean, who do you want as a first-round matchup when you look at this list, right?
Nobody.
Nobody. Stop it, everyone.
Does get the King Tower activation there. I mean, that's just brilliant. That's just, I mean, I know it's just one interaction, it's just one card, it's just one thing, but the difficulty of pulling that off, guys, if you want to grind at the highest level, you need to go back and just watch placement, watch timing, watch positioning of the Magic Archer, it being on the inside, all that stuff in order to get those King Tower activations.
Yeah, I remember watching some of the teams practice during the old era of CRL, and they would get together and they would just practice interactions like that, running it throughout a game. So get a friend and load up with some spirit, like load up with a bunch of spells small that you can cycle out, and a Magic Archer and an Ice Spirit, or however you want to do it, and just practice getting that lineup done. You can do a couple of games, get it dialed in.
Yeah, perfect timing and placement on the Magic Archer there as well by Ian. Does get taken off the board, but it just pulls so much elixir away from Pedro, and now we should see a good Golden Knight connection here. It's actually going to pull that Furnace back just a hair.
I mean, that was critical. And, you know, one thing we've seen a lot in the Graveyard play today, so many times in the history of Graveyard, whether it's the Cannon Cart Graveyard decks or Splash Yard, things like that, so much of playing against Graveyard is setting the line and not letting a tank get across the bridge to get the Princess Tower or whatever tower's attention. That really hasn't been a big part of the Graveyard fights today. So seeing that one there against the Furnace, we saw how effective it was in at least preventing some of that.
Yeah, it's funny. We had a similar conversation yesterday why there's obviously nuance to that conversation, but for the most part, it's kind of an if-then. Since Graveyard is so RNG dependent, the one thing that you can control defensively is it having a tank or not, and it is always better when it has a tank. And like I said, there is nuance to that conversation, but I'm with you. It feels like setting that line is just so important.
But whether it's the construction of the Graveyard decks that we're approaching or something else about it, really we've seen that prioritize, like at least almost low prioritized today.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Magic Archer gets some good lineups here.
Oh yeah. And that Goblin does get to towers, so just a really nicely placed snowball there from Ian. And now gonna have to deal with a big push. And we called it out, Rich, and you can see setting the line important here for Ian. But
Final
1 minute remaining,
intro,
yeah.
And that's, yeah, you see just setting up the Mega Knight for Ian. Wants to create some chaos, get some stuff he can pull together with a NATO, get that Magic Archer lineup.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he has to do all the way across the board. And that's a really nice high Golden Knight there from Ian. And then the Bar Barrel kind of missing the Magic Archer, but it doesn't really matter.
And that's good. Mega Knight staying on for a long time for Ian. Evo Mega Knight now in. Poison going to tick away before the Magic Archer has to come out. Let's see, 21 seconds left. Great prediction, Snowball. I don't know if this is enough. Is there a NATO? The NATO. Doesn't get the lineup. Doesn't get the lineup. The Magic Archer. And those two shots could have been a difference maker. Instead, it's going to be, let me not cast our curse here. Let's get really low down. It's going to be a Game 2 win for Pedro now that I know it's locked up.
Yeah, going back and forth there. Pedro doing a really good job of just starting to search for the things, like exactly what we were talking about. Ian doing so well in game number 1 is where can I take damage and how do I stop that from happening?
Who comes out as in full form and who comes out kind of all over the place. You know, World Finals is so unpredictable. Although, you know, when you think about our solo World Finals, we've had 21, 22, 23, 24. Actually, relatively more predictable. We've only had 2 world champions in 4 solo world championships.
Yeah. Just Mo and Mugi just trading off, which is, I mean, you love to see it. You really do. I mean, you got to beat the best to be the best, and the two of them have just shown time and time again that at least when it comes to the conversation of CRL championships, it's just the two of them.
And Piggies will get handled here.
Pretty close to a mirror matchup here, which is really interesting. You wonder how much that cheaper cycle or the cheaper building is going to come into play here for Pedro. Both of these guys having Lightning as the last card. So a straight mirror match, which will be fascinating. And you know, even in mirror matches, you always see things like that happen. How much more elixir do you spend to keep that Mighty Miner on the board for winning just that one interaction?
And Piggy's got a little bit of extra speed here. Cannon will do its best to make that not into an issue. And well covered.
Yeah. Well covered, but also a really nice log there by Ian to just get a little bit of damage in. And in mirror matchups, any tick of damage, any lick of damage is so important. Because what'll happen is you start to see, sometimes they'll start to go for spell cycle races, but if you just have that little bit of a lead, then you guys both have the same spell, then they lightning, then you lightning, and then they build up an offense and lightning and you lightning. You know, it's a very tough spot to be in. It's one of the reasons why, honestly, I really don't like playing mirror matches, but
oh, I hate them.
Yeah, it's just, but that's just part of the game.
Well, I can't remember who it was describing it, that mirror matches, because some people are like, well, mirror matches show who's the most skilled of two people. And what mirror matches really show is who understands the mirror match better. Yeah. Who understands how to manage your card cycle in that specific situation better. A very different version of Clash Royale, honestly.
Absolutely. And, you know, even right there, you see Pedro going, okay, well, I'm going to use my Lightning on trying to clear out the center of the board here. And Ian obviously still has not used his Lightning, but getting good damage in on the left-hand side and actually taking a pretty nice lead here, and Ian going to get right back on offense. And, you know, the interesting thing here is you have 2 Evo buildings that both have pretty good splash damage, but I do think that probably the cannon wins that conversation, at least in this matchup. It's a faster cycle, and I think a little bit more damage, and the pushback.
Here we go. Sudden death overtime. And some piggies do sneak through for just a tip, but still about almost 300 separating.
And that's pretty good lightning value right there, but Pedro doesn't have enough elixir for it. Interesting baby dragon battle at the river there.
Yeah. Down to the final 90.
Now gonna have to use the ability, I think. Oh no, never mind. Baby dragon does get taken out by the Tesla, or I mean, excuse me, the E-Spirit.
And that gives Ian the lead for just a moment. And we're not in a lightning block situation here. Both these guys, their towers are way too healthy, so lightning's just gonna get on towers.
It's a great point. And Piggy sneaking through again, and the lightning does come down.
2007, 2274. All tied up for the moment. 1 game to 1 game.
Still lightning value in. No late log. This is going to be tough. Nice log there, though, from Pedro.
Lightning does not get onto the Tesla.
You wonder if you should lightning high there. Get on top of the Tesla, get on top of the baby dragon, as that baby dragon's already pretty low. You ignore the baby dragon and the Tesla. There's just way too much defensive prowess there. I mean, even if the Tesla goes off the board, the baby dragon's still going to slow things down to make the Skellies and the E-Spirit a little bit more effective, and Pedro knows it.
And, you know, I called it out. We weren't really in a lightning block situation there. The piggies go back and try to protect, but the tower just a little bit too healthy for that one.
But Pedro just didn't have enough elixir in the tank. But you wonder if that lightning late game, if he had gone high, would have taken out the Tesla and the baby dragon, if that would have actually created any space. But right now we got Pedro playing Mortar and Ian playing Hogs, so I'm just going to shut up and enjoy the show.
Championship point for Ian.
And Iceberg's putting in some pretty good work on that right-hand side. One of those things that you don't love to spend elixir on defensively.
And then you realize that it just froze off a fifth of your tower.
Yeah.
Flying Machine is interesting here.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those cards that we've always talked about, if-then, you know, if Fireball's out or if a spell's out. But the fact that Vines is such a prevalent card now, it definitely changes that conversation a little bit.
Well, this was a bet on Ian's part, right? Poison is gone, Lightning is gone, Vines is gone, so you're kind of flipping the coin. Are you or are you not running Fireball? And it appears that the answer might be not.
Wow, I mean, Ian's going with a very unique Hog deck here. Hog Recruits, which is, you know, a little bit of a mid-ladder menace situation, but you understand the idea behind it is get the Recruits out front, the Hog behind, Flying Machine behind that, and all of a sudden you've got 3 layers of defense you got to play. And very little spell power if you're Pedro, but the splash damage that he has, the ability to get the minions right on top of that Flying Machine are things that he's going to have to think about as this game goes on.
We need to double here, and now we're getting into the potential to try to abuse Flying Machines.
Love to do that. Cage in the right spot. Pull that miner in.
And that Evo Witch just getting healed all the way almost back to full.
Yeah, and that Bar Barrel, I mean, really the reason the Bar Barrel has screamed back into the meta, obviously Graveyard is more popular and very, very strong right now, but the biggest reason that Bar Barrel is in the meta right now is because of Evo Witch specifically.
And you see these Zappies, they come out to handle the Flying Machine because they have to, or the minions,
yeah.
and then the Zappies are there able to just clean them up.
Yeah, nice play there because, Ian recognizes again, all right, I'm going to play this flying machine, which means you basically have to play minions, but you don't really have a way to deal with my zappies. Arrows is just not going to be enough, so there you go. But right now, this is actually a really good push. Miner's still tanking. Skellies are on the tower. That is domination there for Pedro. And it looks like I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to cast a cursive. It's already happened once.
Don't call it yet. But this is looking pretty dire. It doesn't look great. If we're to evaluate how good it looks bad.
I've seen many better looking situations in Clash Royale, but anyone could win, ladies and gentlemen.
And this is kind of what the flying machine needs to do, is be in this safe territory, no man's land, building up value.
And it's great, too, because Ian is early cycled the Zappies, so when the minions come out, either the Zappies are going to be there or he has another set of Zappies to deal with. But honestly, at this point, since Ian has done basically 100 damage, there's so many more things that he's worried about than just that flying machine. Getting across the bridge and defending it,
This is a lot on the board right now that Pedro has to contend with.
There's so much good
fireball clearing
for Pedro with the Ice Wiz, with the Witch, with the Skeleton King, the Mortar defensively. And you can bet your bottom dollar we will not see another offensive Mortar in this game.
Yeah, it's just his shutdown city. Get ahead, slow it down, claw everything up, make it messy. And Pedro making us earn our dollars here all the way down to Game 5 in the bracket reset.
I mean, that's another great thing about these two guys going head-to-head is you're just seeing how close they really are in skill, how deep we're getting in these best-of-5s. And it's just been really, really fun to watch and such a great setup for what World Finals is going to look like.
Man, and how do we even think about deck picking at this stage?
We don't, Rich. We don't.
Yeah,
that's
not our job
being here.
Like, that's an interesting thought too.
Yeah, RG Monk are both available. Skeleton Barrel comes out early here for Ian, which Ian can now be going to Mortar, which is usually what we see Skelly Barrel with. And there we go.
And there you go. Immediate.
Tesla Evo E-Drag. Very interesting.
And a couple early Mortar connections. And, with Evolved Electro Dragon, you have to think that maybe Pedro's going heavy. Tesla's interesting here. But I mean, that does make the Cannoneer more viable.
The Evo E-Dragon might be more of a spell, if that makes sense, Rich, because there's not a good way to take it off of the board. And, it's one of those things where if you don't have Lightning, it's really hard to deal with the Evo E-Drag, and Ian doesn't have Lightning, so that Evo E-Dragon could just be played and just kind of as a control card more than anything. And there we go. See right there, boom, going to clean up the Skellies. Not there for the Mortar, so a Knight has to come down.
So Evo E-Drag Hog is fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is why we love best-of-5s.
Yep.
Cannoneer is also a pretty cool pick here from Ian, just, at least in the sense of it worked out well here where he's going to do well against the Hog. It's going to help with the E-Dragon. It's not really worried about Swarm units. Obviously, the Goblins can be played at the bridge to create a little bit of pressure, but that's not... And there we go, Goblins at the bridge for some pressure.
Yeah, but, with Drill gone, Graveyard gone, Skeleton's not a concern, Skeleton King, like a lot of things that would make a Cannoneer annoying are not in there right now.
Yeah. That's why I really think it's a pretty great tower pick.
Oh, I think he wanted that Knight to go in front of the Hog. Unfortunately for Pedro, it turns back around. Shots in. 1982 on the left-hand side. Ian calling good game.
Once again, and this is just an interesting spot when you talk about Game 5 of a best-of-5 and how you deal with these uniquely difficult cards like the Evo E-Dragon, like the Spirit Empress. and the Rage. I mean, that's pretty cool. You got the Rage, the Royal Delivery, the E-Drag, the Evo Tesla, and the Earthquake as all these like small to moderately big spells. $1988 to
82.
6 HPs.
Yeah, you and I both had the same idea. We're looking at that going, this is razor thin.
Why Ian is maybe looking at that long game and just wondering, he called good game, but it really doesn't feel like he means it in this situation. It's just that E-Dragon, man. He's just got no way to get to it other than sniping it with the Spirit Empress.
Hog in on the left-hand side. This time, Knight in front of it. The high mortar to hold. EQ going to work.
Yeah, I think Ian's just recognizing he has a really, really tough time breaking through.
Well, again, now this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Is what is Ian thinking of? How do I get the win? Right? What is my methodology for making this happen? Ian has to be doing that math right now.
I just don't know.
He's thinking there's no way.
Yeah, he's got to use that mortar defensively because there's no really other good way to stop the Hog. The Tesla's always going to pull these barrels in. There you go, double drop right away. Evo E-Dragon to clean it all up. Somehow those Skellies get away, which is, again, you can't give up.
And the Rage, he has to guards here. Hog's going to get one.
Yeah, good job.
35 seconds left.
Recognizing the overspend by Ian, and he turns up his offensive push just a little bit.
2 Empresses. That Tesla, though, that Evo Tesla was spot on from Pedro.
Yeah, the Tesla placement has been really nice to see by Pedro, and it makes sense, you know, being a minor control player. He's probably got all these buildings on lockdown, considering how many different versions there's been. And there you go. There's the smile from Pedro finally. Rich, we cast a curse at him before, but that man who already had a golden ticket has got 15,000 more dollars in his pocket, 100 more points to go on that leaderboard, and we will see both of these gentlemen in Atlanta.